We are now joined by Claudia Wells-Metzler, and she is going to give us a little update on, Caymanian living abroad and how that's working out for her. And with Claudia, we always start off by asking who you for.
Woofa. Okay, Kevin. Let me tell you, my daddy was Carly Ebanks, and my mother was Vita Ebanks, and everybody know my brother, Pastor Alison Ebanks. So that's the clan. That's who I for.
That's who you're for. Well, where are you, and what's it like in your area right now?
And of course, I'm from West Bay, right? Originally. Right now, I am in Washington, D.C. or Maryland. I've been here for about 2 months. But since inception of COVID, I was in Florida. That's where my husband and I reside. And so we, as you know, close to you right there in Tampa. But right now I'm in DC, heading back home to Florida on Friday.
Gotcha. And I know both places have had a lot of COVID cases around. So you're around people who are infected, whether you know they're infected or not, because cases are high throughout the United States. What's it like living in an area where you don't know who have COVID or not?
It's being so mindful of the fact that this is where we are. We are in a pandemic still, even though we found about it over a year ago. So for me, there are a couple of things I'm mindful about. I go out if it's necessary, or I always make sure I got my mask, and I make sure that I have all the things that I need, sanitizing. But I'm mindful of when I'm going. I don't want to go out on a Friday evening when there's a lot of people there. So being mindful is one of the things for me. Okay, making sure I got my mask, making sure that I'm not going to go out when there's a lot of crowds, making sure that I am staying my distance from people, but not being paranoid, but just being very mindful.
Is it really difficult to do that?
You know what? It's not. I think everybody went through a time when the whole world locked down within about 24 hours, that we were all, I think we to be honest, everybody was fearful. We just didn't know what we were dealing with. And sure, when we started first going out, even to the supermarket, even to go my grocery shopping, when I first started, I was very anxious because, and everybody else was anxious. People were avoiding each other and stuff. But you listen to what people are saying about science, you listen to what precautions should be taken. And then I started to plan my course of action. I would go shopping, I would think, okay, I would go early in the morning when I know there's not a lot of crowds. And so as I put into practice things because I didn't want to live in this stress I knew was going to be as bad as if you got sick. I'm like, I can't live in such a stressful situation. So I'm going to take the necessary precautions and do the things that I need to do to be able to live as normal as I can in this situation.
And I know you're fully vaccinated. Your husband's fully vaccinated. So what made you make that decision?
My husband, from the beginning, he was very concerned, and he said whenever the vaccine came out, he was going to get it. I, on the other hand, I needed to know more. I personally was very skeptical, but I kept looking and listening and reading. So February of this year, he got it and he became fully vaccinated. I still didn't decide on it. I was praying about it. I was reading, I was asking questions. In March of this year, my husband came down, had a stroke. And so I was in and out of the hospital with him. And I spoke to my primary care doctor, and she said, you're just exposing yourself. You need to become vaccinated. And then she said, your husband at this stage is much more compromised. So you not just need to think about yourself now, you need to think about him. And but I personally knew I needed to be at peace about it. And after talking to her and praying about it in April, I decided to get my first vaccination. And then, of course, got the second one. And so I had a peace about it because I figured I needed to protect myself. And as much as I am aware of history of vaccination, and I know this whole COVID thing is new, but to me, right then, I felt that was the only recourse we had. Either decide to take the vaccination, believe in the process that went and all the information that came to us from the CDC, etc., and which would listening to science, listening to my primary care doctor. And that's really when I made my decision.
And I know, and I just want to make sure you're okay sharing it, but your husband, he's fully vaccinated and he happened to be a breakthrough case. That's correct?
Yes. And that was interesting. And that kind of cemented my confidence and even cemented my confidence in the fact that I had got vaccinated. He was vaccinated from February, like I said. I didn't get it until April, and he had the stroke in March. Well, he had a breakthrough. He had no symptoms, however, but he had been exposed to somebody else who had been tested positive. And because of his physical condition, I called his primary care doctor and I said, he's been exposed to somebody that's tested positive. And so I'm concerned about it. So he said, bring him to the office. We'll meet you outside so he can be tested. And then if he's negative, then you guys just take all the necessary precautions with quarantine. Well, when we got there, he was positive. But he had no symptoms. He was not sick, but his doctor said, Mr. Metzler, had you not taken this vaccination, I am confident that it would have been different. He had about 24 hours of being lethargic. And that's basically all he had. On the other hand, I was not quite my 10 days into my second dose, as you know. But I was in the house with him. I was there. We slept in the same bed. They tested me and I was negative. And up until now, I was fully exposed to it. But up until now, there's no indication that I had it and was like asymptomatic or anything like that. But I feel confident that had my husband not had the vaccination, that things would have been different for him.
I remember when you called me, knowing what I do here in Florida,
yes,
my job, and I talked you through some of that, and
right.
I was so glad to know that he was fully vaccinated,
yes,
even though he was immunocompromised, and so it was just that gave me a little bit of peace. And I told you, hey, it's going
right.
to be okay. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened, and
exactly,
and we're happy for that. Yeah,
exactly.
So one of the next things, I know you have been following a lot of the activities going on in Cayman, and we know just over 70% of our population back home, they're fully vaccinated. About 7%, we still got, a little bit to go before we're in that comfortable sweet spot.
Right.
So what would be your message to those who have not yet gotten gotten vaccinated?
Kevin, my heart physically is here, but it's in Cayman as well. That's my home. That's where all my siblings are. I got grandkids there. That's my home. I haven't been away from home as long as I've been during this pandemic thing. So I am very concerned, not just being prayerful, but for leaders, but very concerned. And, I've been hearing those that are against vaccination. I've been listening to those that are pro and those that are they're against it. My first thing would be, you have to make a decision based on first of all, the knowledge that you trust, the knowledge if you're listening to you're listening to your doctor, you're listening to the science, you should make a decision based on how you have been able to process that and what's in your own best interest. But you're not just thinking about yourself. If you got family, you got other people, older people in your family, you have to be thinking about yourself and thinking about them. But also, there's so many people that are saying things about vaccination. They don't really know what they're saying. If I'm gonna take a leap of faith about something, I'm gonna listen to somebody I feel confident and at least they know what they're talking about. I feel, and I think the whole world feels this way, that COVID is here for a while. I don't want to think it's here to stay, as some people, but this is where we are right now. And I feel that for Cayman, for the whole, just like the rest of the world, we have to be practical and look at it realistically. How do we be able to live in the current situation that we have with the knowledge that we have? The Bible talks about without knowledge or the people perish. With the knowledge that you have, how do you apply that to yourself personally? And how that you gonna apply it to the way you're gonna live? I feel that the Caymanian people have been the most blessed people during pandemic. They've had 2 deaths. They have had, until this recent outbreak, very little cases, no community outbreak until recently. So they've been blessed. They've enjoyed almost life as normal for a while, but that is unrealistic to think that you can continue to enjoy that kind of lifestyle with the borders closed. So my message to my people would be trying to get your information from the source that you know you can trust. Try to deflect as much negative information as possible. Talk to your doctor, talk to people that you trust. If you're going to a doctor for an illness, you must trust that person. If you can trust them for anything else, please try to trust them for information regarding the vaccine and stuff. And once you've done that and you feel that you've done your best to protect yourself and to protect others, then continue to live doing things that will allow you to live as normal as possible. I think it's wise to continue using masks especially when you're out in big crowds. Avoid big crowds. And if you're paranoid about it, plan your course of action throughout the day, but you cannot live in a bubble forever, and you cannot live with COVID without being sensible and realistic about precautions that you need to take.
And if you had anything else to add to the rest of the Cayman Islands, what would it be?
Oh, apart from praying for, like I said, the leaders, I feel that our borders need to open. I am so concerned when I hear or read of companies or businesses that may have to close their doors. I'm so concerned about the impact. We know we have 2 of the most fragile economies in the world, tourism and finance. Nothing more fragile. We've had solid, they're fragile economies, but we've had they've been solid. And so for right now, how long can we realistically keep our borders closed and think that we can rebuild the tourism industry overnight? That can't happen. We cannot rebuild it overnight. So think about yourself and think about your neighbor, with the next person, your children. Think, what would you do in order to try for the island to be able to, the economy to be able to pick up? And what part, everybody has a role to play. We just can't look for government and put pressure on government to close and keep closed forever. We can't look and put pressure on businesses or to provide sustenance. Government cannot continue to provide sustenance, financial sustenance to our Caymanian people forever. They've done a great job, but I feel that right now we need to take our vaccinations, do everything we can do to become healthy, and do everything that we can do to whatever regulations, precautions that government has in place to comply with them, and pray for our leaders to make the right decision. But I feel that Cayman borders need to be open, because I'm really concerned about what the repercussions will be if we continue to remain closed for another 6 months or whatever. It's not that, I'm not fearful, I'm concerned. And I think the concern is, I'm not the only one, but there are many who are concerned. And we'll live one day at a time in the situation that we are, doing our best to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe and keeping others safe.
All right, Ms. Claudia, I really appreciate you taking the time to have this discussion, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Take care.
Okay, thank you too. Thank you for what you're doing, Kevin. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye.